Buying a house. It seems pretty simple, right? You find a place, you make an offer, you get the keys. But what you're actually buying is so much more than just four walls and a roof. It's this whole complex package of rights and rules and stuff. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what you're really getting. Okay, so let's just dive right in with the biggest question of all. When you sign all that paperwork for a house, what do you actually own? I promise you the answer is a whole lot more interesting and way more specific than you probably think. Let's follow the journey.
All right, before we get any further, we have to get the language right. You'll hear words like land, real estate, and real property thrown around, and yeah, they sound kind of the same, but in the eyes of the law, they build on each other to paint the full picture of what's yours. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look, we start with land. That's the ground itself, the trees, everything natural, literally from the center of the earth all the way up to the sky. Then we have real estate. That's the land plus any man-made stuff attached to it, the house, the fence, you get it. But the one that really matters, the whole shebang, is real property. That's the real estate plus all the legal rights that come with owning it.
So what in the world are these rights? Well, the best way to think about them is as a bundle of rights. Imagine you're not just getting a single key to the front door, you're getting a whole key ring. Each key unlocks a different part of your property. And here's the kicker. You can actually sell or lease some of those keys to other people. The most obvious key on that ring? Your surface rights. This is what we all think of when we think of owning a home. It's the right to build your house, plant a garden, maybe dig up some gravel for a new path. It's your tangible piece of the planet. But what about what's under your feet? Those are your subsurface rights, sometimes called mineral rights. We're talking oil, natural gas, that sort of thing. And here's something that blows a lot of people's minds. It's super common for someone else to own the subsurface rights to your land. You can own the house, but a company could own the minerals way down below. Now, to see just how big a deal this is, get this. In a place like Texas, the law says the subsurface estate, the mineral rights, is dominant. What that means is the person who owns the minerals has the right to use the surface to get to them. It's a really powerful reminder that what's under your land can be just as important, if not more so, than what's on it. And finally, we look up. Air rights cover the space above your property. And yep, you can sell or lease these too. You ever see a walkway that goes over a public street? Or a cell tower on a piece of land? That's all about someone using the air rights. Okay, we've got the land, we've got the rights. Now for the stuff. This is where a ton of confusion and frankly a lot of arguments can happen when you're buying a house. What stays and what goes.
Let's picture it. You walk into a house for a showing, and there it is. The perfect custom-built bookcase that fits this one wall like a glove. You're already picturing your books on it. So, do you get to keep it? The answer all depends on a really important legal idea.
And that idea is the difference between real property and personal property. Real property is the land and everything that's permanently attached to it. Personal property, sometimes called chattel, is, well, everything else. It's all your movable stuff, your couch, your clothes, your TV. As a general rule, personal property goes with the seller.
But what happens when you take some personal property and attach it to the house? Well, it can become something called a fixture. Think about a ceiling fan. You buy it at the store, it's personal property. But the second you install it in the ceiling, it becomes part of the real property. It's been annexed to the home. So to figure out if our bookcase is a fixture, courts basically use a three-part test. And notice what's not on this list. The price tag. Cost doesn't matter. First up is intention. Was it meant to be permanent? This is the biggest one. Second, method of attachment. Would tearing it out leave a big hole in the wall? And third, adaptation. Was it literally custom built for that specific spot? If you're nodding yes to these, that bookcase is probably a fixture and it's staying put. Let's move on to the next huge step in this journey. You figured out what you're buying. Now you have to decide how you're going to own it. And trust me, the name or names you put on that deed have massive legal and financial consequences down the line. When it comes to ownership, you've really got three main choices. You can own it all by yourself, you can share ownership with other people, or the property can be held in a trust for someone's benefit. Ownership in severalty sounds kind of fancy, but it just means you've been severed from all other owners. One person or maybe one company owns the whole thing. The upside? Total control. You call all the shots. The downside? You guessed it, full responsibility. It's all on you.
Now, for co-ownership, this table really clarifies the two big options if you're not married. Tenancy in common is pretty much the default. You can own unequal shares, and when one owner dies, their piece of the pie goes to whoever they named in their will. But joint tenancy is a whole different animal. It has this incredible feature called the right of survivorship. When a joint tenant dies, their share automatically goes to the other owners. It completely bypasses the will. That's why people sometimes call it a poor man's will. Okay, we have covered the what and the how. So let's wrap this up with this safety net, the actual laws that are in place to make sure the entire process of buying and selling a home is fair and square for everybody. The foundation for all of this is our fair housing laws. It actually started way back with the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Then came the Landmark Law in 1968, which was later amended in 88 to add even more protections for folks with disabilities and for families with kids. The goal is to ensure everyone gets a fair shot at housing. These laws specifically target some really predatory practices. Steering is the most common complaint. This is when a real estate agent tries to push a buyer toward or away from a certain neighborhood because of their race or religion or family status. It is absolutely illegal. And then there's this other nasty tactic called blockbusting. This is when someone tries to scare homeowners into selling their homes for cheap by hinting that a certain group of people is moving into the neighborhood. It's all about creating panic to make a quick buck. And finally, a quick word on your wallet. Antitrust laws exist to make sure there's fair competition. For you, as a buyer or seller, here's the number one thing to take away from this. Commissions are always negotiable. Period. Any attempt by agents to get together and fix prices or set a standard rate is a huge violation of federal law. And there you have it. From the center of the earth to the sky above, from the light fixtures on the walls to the name on the deed. When you buy a house, you're not just buying a structure. You're buying a piece of the planet and a whole bundle of rights, responsibilities, and protections. You own it. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with it?